All right, good morning, brothers and sisters. It is Monday, and I am very tired this morning. I had one heck of a spiritual weekend with all these Halloween parties and just these spirits roaming around and just trying to meddle with people and oppress or possess people. And I'm very sensitive to that. I may not be a sensitive man, but when it comes to the Lord, my spirit is very sensitive to other spirits, and yeah, very rough weekend, but still displaying love for God and for others. And this morning, this portion of scripture, we are in First Peter chapter 3, and verse 7 really slaps me in the face. And I just kind of want to touch up on this. I have a study Bible. It's not sure I got a regular Bible, where it's just scripture and verses. And then I got this big old beefy Excalibur looking beast that weighs like 10 pounds, or not really, it's like a couple of pounds, maybe 5 pounds. But there's lots of inserts and study notes and references on the bottom portion and in the back too. So it really allows me to read more into a scripture if I don't understand what I'm reading at times, which I've always had, which has been a blessing. But right now we are in chapter 3, verse 7, speaking about husbands with their wives. Peter writes, "Husbands, likewise dwell with them, your wives, with understanding, giving honor to the wife as to the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered." And the scripture prior to this is Peter's talking to wives to submit to their husbands in authority, and to just do certain things and how to love a husband. So Peter starts off this verse with husbands likewise. He's saying, love your wives, love them. He dwell with them in understanding. In other words, this portion of scripture right here in the bottom, the insert says here, be as faithful to your wives as you want them to be to you, giving them no excuse to sin. Ooh. When you don't dwell with your spouse and understanding your wife, they tend to rebel. A pastor once said, if your wife is not submitting to you in love, then what are you doing wrong? And I've always read this. I've been saved for 23 years. And I've always read this, and I thought I had it down. And now that I'm divorced and single, and just, out there, just, looking at people and, seeing who's out there, sisters in the Lord, and just seeing how much ugly they've been through in life and how much baggage they carry still, because they're human. They're human. And I'm like, man, is there any good women left? Any strong women in the Lord and Spirit who have learned to forgive and move on, and just stand in the Lord and just still love, and as I think about that, I'm like, well, it's kind of tough, because my generation of men who were raised by women, because fathers were always in jail or drunk, or back in, the West Coast, it's, a lot of these men had really taken advantage of women and not been taught how to love a woman, but how to be. That's another topic for another day. My point is, these women have been, they claim to be damaged and remain damaged. And what happens is, let me rewind that. If a man is doing his part biblically with a woman, if he's loving the Lord like he should, then the Lord is going to use this man, is going to love his wife through him. As that man's going to be a vessel. And when this man is loving God and this man is married, and that spouse is going to feel the love of God through that husband. If that spouse is not feeling the love of God through her husband, then that means that man of God is not truly being a man of God. That means there is a communication issue between God and him. So he says, dwell with them in understanding. He's saying, man, he's dwell with them in understanding to the point where remain faithful to them as you want them to be, giving them no excuse. Because if you were loving God, you dwell with them in understanding. He goes, the next thing you're going to do automatically is you're going to, he says here, giving them honor, giving the wife honor as to the weaker vessel. In other words, by doing that, you are using your superior strength to protect her. Does it mean you're better than her? Even though we are built different, men are built like semis and women are built like, little pickup trucks. Men are meant to carry a heavier load, like concrete and iron, and women are meant to carry babies. They still got the ability to carry. They still have a job to do, But there's a weight difference due to the structures, men's structure compared to a woman's structure. Doesn't mean they're inferior or no good. Nobody's saying by to honor them, by using your strength to protect them, and then them being the weaker vessel. He's saying they're more fragile, man. You look at vessels of honor, you look at vessels, cups, glasses. You got those iron mugs where guys you drink the beer, and then you got those, nice little china, wine glasses. They're still vessels that carry fluid. They're still vessels that carry water and whatnot, but one can break a lot more easier. One is for delicate, nice, just like, oh yeah, beautiful wine glass. And man just getting drunk, a big old metal mug back in the day, bro, what they're meat. It's just like, that's the difference. He's saying to not look down upon them. No, he's just saying, you know what, man, they're more precious. They're more fragile. Hence the weaker vessel. And I believe that the word weaker in the English translation doesn't really give justice, or doesn't really doesn't really meet the Greek word that the translation is probably off, is what I'm saying. And weaker just happens to be what fits in the English language, But women are not weak. They suffer twice as much as men do. Not only are they sensitive and emotional, but they go into labor. So that's a double whammy. So he says here again, I'm sorry if I'm rambling on, but he says here to dwell with them in understanding, giving them honor, by protecting them, and then remembering that they are the weaker vessel. He says, as the weaker vessel, being heirs together in the grace of life. And, being heirs together, what does that mean? To continuously love each other, show each other forgiveness. We're all going to make mistakes, show it we're human, show each other forgiveness, undeserved kindness, just remembering that we are human, that we are in this flesh, we are in this world, and the enemy will attack us. Then just continue to grow in that love for one another, love for God and love for one another, forgiving each other, dwelling with each other and understanding, being of one mind, of the same heart. Because by doing that, by daily continuing to walk in that kind of love, your prayers will not be hindered. So many marriages get destroyed because of hindered prayers. Though you may be praying, God is not hearing them because you are not right with God. And I know I've said before that even when I was backslidden, I prayed. And I did. I did. I prayed every day, even when I was high. Back in the day, I'd pray. And it's interesting because I still get a response. And I'm not saying this. My heart wasn't angry towards the situation. My heart was broken on why I was on the things I was doing and why I was doing them. And I think one day God will explain to me why He answered me, as opposed to abandoning me. I mean, He'll never forsake me, But many prayers get hindered due to a relationship broken with God. And if your relationship is broken with God, it's going to be broken with your spouse. I look back now on my 25 years of my marriage, and it's just like I see a lot of ups and downs, and I try to remember certain things in life. It's like, we had a lot of hardships, trying to raise a family in LA, and just me trying to protect a lot of things that they don't know that I had to do as a man to protect them in the environment. My kids had a very nice, peaceful life, and that's because I did a lot of protecting. They didn't realize, and that's my duty, as the stronger vessel, But now that my sons are getting older and they have women in their lives, they're starting to understand what it's like to be a man. And the thing, not only do they protect them spiritually, but physically. As some of these men try to pick up on your beautiful wife, you got to step up. And if your wife ain't, feeling confident, okay, that's another topic for another day. But it's my point is, as men, we have a duty. Stay right in the eyes of God. And by doing so, God's going to show you how to dwell with your spouse in understanding. And then as you dwell with them in understanding, you're going to begin to honor them, by being faithful to them and giving them, as you're faithful to God, you're faithful to them, giving them no reason or excuse to sin. And as you use your strength, your superior strength as the stronger vessel, as opposed to them being the weaker one, you protect them. You protect them and provide for them. And then by knowing that they're the weaker vessel, understanding that they're more fragile and sensitive, honoring them in that too, not trying to make them do something that they weren't built for or created for. You walk in that grace, remembering that you are children of God, heirs to the throne. By walking in that with that understanding, your prayers are not hindered. They're heard by the Lord, and you get to walk together in unity. And then two can become one under God. So, brothers and sisters, I love you. Peace be with you. You have a blessed week, a great day, and may the peace of God be with you. May the joy of the Lord be your strength. And remember, choose wisdom over the world. God bless.